My name's Nick Graham Higgs. I live in Tathra in the Bega Valley. I'm a survivor of the Tathra 2018 bushfire, a bushfire in March, an unseasonal bushfire. I stayed during the bushfire and saved my house, and I watched as almost half the houses in my street burnt to the ground. It occurred during an extreme unseasonal weather event. We're seeing more and more of such events in our region. In August 2018, the Bega bushfire started 10 kilometres northwest of Bega. I was moving office. I have an office in Bega. I employ 15 people in Bega. I was moving and required insurance, and I was told at that time, while the bushfire was raging during August, that currently, this is a quote from my broker, currently your insurer has an embargo on our postcode due to bushfire out of town. I'm aware that QBE refuses insurance to properties in certain areas due to risk of disasters like floods and cyclones. And there are also some properties that QBE is willing to insure, but charges extremely high annual premiums that are more than 1% of property value, which I believe personally that makes that property uninsurable. Is this category of property, and that's uninsurable property, increasing in number as the impacts of global warming worsen? And if so, do you know which of your residential customers will become uninsurable or have unaffordable insurance because of worsening extreme weather over the next couple of decades, and have you informed them of this situation? My understanding is that APRA has asked for this information, and I believe other financial institutions, including the Commonwealth Bank, have done stress testing.
Thank you very much, and a very good question. Pat, I think you could give a better answer than I can.
Thanks. Hi, Mr. Higgs. Sorry to hear about your own experience with the bushfires. Look, I think, you know, if we look at both our own claims data dating back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or indeed other industry-wide data, there are more frequent incidents and there are higher severity incidents. That's sort of a fact, I think a fairly undisputable fact, which does mean that, and they tend to concentrate in certain areas, whether that's bushfire activity or flood activity. We as a company, we as an insurance industry have been trying to work in partnership with the government to try and do some prevention measures to make sure that all communities, to your point, I think we'd all agree it's really important all communities are insurable, and there are various measures that our industry body, the ICA, would like to do in partnership with government to make sure that there's both flood prevention, bushfire prevention, all of those things. In terms of specifics on your own postcode, I've got our Aussie business leader here in the front row, Vivek, so I'm happy for him to pick up with you afterwards on that.
Okay, look, I guess, are you projecting or looking at what properties you can insure in the future? Is that part of what you're doing at the moment with the climate change policy? That's the gist of my question.
The climate change assessment work, there's a quite high level, but there's a table of activity that kind of projects out, and it looks at all the impacts of climate change, physical, transitional, etc. And part of that is assessing where we write business, how we write business, and how, you know, how the frequency and severity is likely to increase over time. I mentioned we've made an investment in a company called Zagoro. They have NASA scientists on staff, and their job is to try and predict the rising water levels at various ports around the world, just to predict more accurately and to more precisely, down to greater granularity, how climate change will impact various properties around the world. So yes.
Just one more thing. So is part of your the policy now to educate the public, and basically, I mean, I understand you've got a duty of care to inform them of these risks. Is part of your agenda to inform them of those risks and perhaps inform them of the urgency of it?
We obviously work with our broker partners or indeed our insurance agents partners in the case of something like Elders to try and educate the customers, whether that be the higher risk, making sure people are taking the appropriate cover, where appropriate opting into things like flood cover. So yes, that would definitely be part of our agenda going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you know, I would add, while it's small comfort, QBE's challenges here are not unique, and they're not unique to Australia and around the globe. I have a Florida home that's in a hurricane area. My policy is not with QBE. I'm paying more than 1% of value for hurricane wind insurance in that area. It's a real industry challenge, and it's part of the reason that there's been a growth of modeling firms to try and help the industry become more predictive as to where these zones likely are going to be, and hopefully educate the public as to what the consequences are of where you're located and what the restrictions may be. That being said, people oftentimes in Florida like to live near the ocean, and that's where the wind's going to be. So it's a constant issue, and it's one that we're trying to work with the industry and with our client base to do the best job we can.